Welcome to Phantom Zoned, the podcast where we dredge the lakes of hell in search of the worst the cinematic world has to offer. And then we put it on trial for its various sins against humanity. Should a film be found guilty, it will be jettisoned into the far, far reaches of space. A phantom zone, if you will. I'm your host, Adrian Torres, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Mr. Scott Speedboat Daily. How's it going, Scott?
I'm doing good, Adrian. I am so happy to be back in the Snake Eater cinematic universe.
We decided that it was the start of summer and we wanted to do something kind of fun. When I say kind of fun, you have to remember the types of films that we're usually watching.
Great ones.
So it's a very, very slight variation on what people might call fun. In some states, I'm pretty sure it's a form of torture. But it's neither here nor there. We're not really dealing with a Geneva Convention or anything that here. We're outside the law, if you will, just like Soldier
Pirates
would want. No, not pirates. I just said Soldier. He's suspended for this movie, so
the whole time
he works for the law, but is outside of the law. Anyways, we thought for the summer we would kick it off by doing a series of part 2s. Since we did part 3s recently, we wanted to jump in and reverse engineer everything and decide to do part 2. So we've got a couple movies that are going to be lined up for at least the next month that are going to be part 2s, and we decided that the first one we had to start with was clearly Snake Eater 2, knowing that there is a trilogy of films that follow the adventures, I'm using air quotes here for adventures, concerning Soldier, was something that we knew in our heart of hearts that we had to get back to.
I loved the original Snake Eater. I'm pretty sure we said not guilty on that movie, or I hope so.
Yeah, no, but we saved it. There's a reason why we used the fucking end credit song
Touché.
for a while, because I'm still obsessed with the fact that second verse of the song directly calls out to the character from the movie and says, "Soldier, where's your sister? Can you hear her endless cries?" And you're just like, fuck you, song. It's not really cool. This guy's already got PTSD as is, and now you're reminding him about the tragic experience of, his sister being kidnapped, who thankfully is saved, but his parents didn't make it out at the beginning of the film.
Not so much. That was a great film. This is a movie.
Yes.
It has moving pictures in it.
It projected at 24 frames per second at one time or another.
They are. Soldier is a character in that movie.
Yes, he is.
He's not necessarily the same character.
Oh, he most certainly
but
is.
But not a different character either. This is an interesting take on the Soldier franchise. Did we say the name of it? Did we say that it's called The Drug Buster?
The Drug Buster.
The.
2 words, by the way. Not Drug Buster,
not Drug
like
Buster.
It's one together and it should be a title. It's The Drug Buster. I feel like there's some type of joke in there where you put a comma right after drug.
Yeah.
That feels like it would be very
It's the
much
Drug Buster.
Exactly. That feels like it would be at home in this movie.
Yeah, but Snake Eater 1 took place in a jungle because it was a movie about a PTSD Vietnam War vet, so that kind of makes sense.
It was more so like the bayou, I think.
That's
way to describe
fair.
that.
This movie does not.
No.
This one
takes place in a city.
Right outside of the production office, wherever this was shot. I think it was shot in Canada.
Sure. But the first one was an exploitation film, so it stands to reason that this one would be just the same. We open with a gospel song playing as various groups of children dance in a rec hall, but none of them are dancing to the music that's being represented.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, if I had to write down how I thought this movie was going to start, I would never have picked this way.
Did you think for a second that maybe you were watching like Breakin' 3 Like a sequel that you didn't know ever existed.
I honestly checked to see if I was watching the wrong movie because I did not know what was going on.
That's totally fine.
But no, it was the right movie because suddenly Soldier's there.
He's there after we see Speedboat, who is our secondary lead,
whose name is indeed Speedboat.
That's his name.
No
That's
explanation given.
Anyone ever calls him. We see him visit each of the dancing groups, and he attempts to dance with every single one of them, but he's never dancing the dance that any of the people are practicing.
Speedboat goes at his own speed. Boat.
Yes. Sure. So he sees Soldier, and Soldier decides to have a very close conversation with him.
Yeah, he likes to get in people's face and really, talk to them.
Just really, really close.
Really just talk to them.
And just out loud remind them that even though Soldier has been suspended for whatever reason, we don't know. It's not a very strong suspension. It's just for the week, just a trial period so that he can cool off from his soldier shenanigans that he did. But he still makes sure to let Speedboat know that he's the one who's running the show, and he still has 11 more days on his community service project to get all these different groups ready for a dance battle competition where the winner can get $30,000.
Oh, did it say 30? Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Because I wrote down $3,000, and I was like, how can you get a new car for that?
Because he tells them to buy a Mercedes with tinted windows.
I know, that's why I was confused. I was like, how much did cars cost in 1989? It doesn't seem like you could get a car for $3,000.
He also gets confused in his line reading because he makes the comment that with the leftover money, they can use it to get white people to ask them to teach their kids how to dance.
To scare them into asking them. Speedboat.
With his leftover money? So he's going to toss money at people to scare them into being like, oh, this guy's for serious. We really need to learn dancing from him.
Look, Speedboat goes at his own speed. I've already made that joke. Speedboat is not a character. He's just a quip machine.
The gentleman who plays, oh God, I'm blanking on his name right now. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff.
Who plays Speedboat?
Yeah.
It's Larry B. Scott.
Yes, correct. He has been in a ton of movies. If anybody's seen any of the Revenge of the Nerds films, he plays Lamar.
Yep.
He's basically the black nerd. That's his job. More lovably, if anyone ever suffered through Space Camp, he's Rudy in Space Camp, who is, I'm pretty sure, the only black person in that movie as well. So he was very much the token black actor for a whole bunch of different films.
He's got his lane, man. He's got his lane.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I think he's more suited to those roles than Speedboat, but Speedboat doesn't have any direct definition of a character. It's just whatever they feel scene by scene he needs. But he does have several different family members, because right away after he's talking with Soldier, which thankfully once again people are still referring to him as Soldier. They're not calling him by his actual name, so we still don't know if he's the one who's demanding that everybody calls him this, or if they just instinctually know that his name is Soldier.
Maybe that's the type of thing that'll be answered in the third movie.
We can only hope whenever we get to that way, way far down the line. But he's still very much the same Soldier that we know because he still has his Army vet jacket, and he has a new Snake Eater shirt on. Underneath. It still says Snake Eater.
It does.
And it still mentions secret elite whatever squad.
On the t-shirt.
He's still advertising that he's part of this super secret fucking group. So Soldier, definitely has not learned any lessons.
But do you remember how the first movie started? The first movie started with him screwing with these drug dealers, and then this weird sex scene with this woman.
Yeah.
Compared to how this movie starts, this weird dance hall, and it's so much lamer.
but they decide to cut directly to the chase right away by having two characters OD. One of them, they're said, is going to be fine, but he's carted out in a body bag.
He'll be fine. Don't worry about it. He'll be fine.
Because they also mentioned that Speedboat's sister is in a coma, but they say this other guy's going to be okay. He ain't going to be okay because he's dead.
Oh, he dead.
He's totally dead. And Scott, you love this point that the movie brings up, which has led these people to OD.
So, if you're a drug dealer, like your consumer is the backbone of your industry, right? So, if you were going to cut your drugs with something, would you want to cut it with a thing that kills them?
You mean baby powder kills people?
No.
Because as far as I know, with the street terms and the lingo with the hip kids, it's that it's stepped on is what it's called. Not cutting, but you stepped on.
I'm sorry.
And that it's usually laced with baby powder is usually what happens with drugs.
Well, no. They see it wasn't enough. It wasn't sufficient. They had to step on it with rat poison, so people are dying from taking the drugs. Now, this would make sense if there was some like deep nefarious like scheme that I thought this movie was going to go to, like where it's actually like it would be very 80s to say that the government is like forcing them to cut their drug with rat poison to kill people that are using drugs to solve the drug problem. The drug war, blah blah. Nope. No, they're just regular criminals that are murdering their client base for I don't know why.
So you're basically saying if this movie had a point.
Yeah. It doesn't though. It doesn't have a point.
No, there's not a point to really anything that happens in the entire movie. But Soldier is very much incensed to that this guy is using rat poison. He mentions it probably about 3 or 4 times in the movie to anyone who will listen to him in earshot. And him being who he is, decides that he needs to go above and beyond the Call of Duty. Well, I mean, technically not the Call of Duty because he's suspended, so he doesn't need to listen to the Call of Duty. So it's it's his internal snake eater compass that tells him that he needs to take down these drug dealers. So he
does it.
He does. He just, like any good person who used to be in special forces, he happens to have a suitcase, army grade suitcase in the bottom of his closet that just casually happens to be home to a whole bunch of bricks of plastique and grenades.
Yeah, I don't think we ever see him use the C4 though. I mean, we just see him he pulls the C4 out.
Oh no, he definitely does. That's the first thing that he uses when we see him walk up to the drug den after a beautiful edit. And when I say beautiful, it's a really, really cheap like screen swipe, because this movie continually, time and time again, uses like the cheapest editing software that was around at the time. We're talking about really, really bad MTV style dissolves and that checkerboard thing that they kept happening. It's so shitty. So they make sure to show this hooker leaving the drug den, and then show Soldier walking up to it and just casually walks inside, goes upstairs to the second floor, and that's when he pulls out the plastique, because that was what had the little timer on it that he throws at the door.
Oh, that's what that... See, I didn't know what that was. I thought it was just a weird-looking grenade. Why does he throw the timer at the door?
Because he's got the timer attached to it, and it starts beeping, and he throws it.
That's so stupid.
So he throws the plastique, and the reason he's throwing the plastique is because he he showed up and he's not supposed to be there. And conveniently, the door to the drug den has 3 holes built into it. One for your face, one for the money, and then one for your
gun. You got your gun hole.
Your submachine gun that you can easily, have easy access firing. So he throws it. The plastique blows up. He waits a beat, grabs the grenade, and then chucks it in. Like, to me, that's overkill.
You can't argue with progress.
I know, but at the same time, if you're somebody like he's supposed to be, he's soldier. Everybody knows who he is. His reputation precedes him. He was in the elite commando squadron and everything. They were search and destroy, but also at the same time, if you know that you're going to be systematically taking apart this chain, you have to find out where the other drug dens are, who the lieutenants are, so you can start picking off the more important people.
Soldier is not a thinking man. Soldier is a doing man. And he's going to go out there.
We learned that in the process. But directly after he kills some of these people, the first of all, the boss bad guy, if you want to call him, of this place, casually pops around the corner and stabs a soldier straight in his shoulder blade.
He stabs soldier in the shoulder?
Yeah. Soldier in the shoulder. I'm not going to try that one again, so fuck it. And who should pop up around the corner but Speedboat?
It's my boy Speedboat.
He's there. He's got a new hat on this time. He's decided that his interpretation of the word inconspicuous is to show up in a red leather trench coat.
Hey, which one of these guys gets away?
Speedboat's the one who gets away. Speedboat also attempts to be a thinking man because he makes a comment, "Oh, hey, what are you doing here?" "Well, I was showing up to do what you're doing right now." You're like, yeah, Speedboat, clearly, the guy who's running the community rec center and helping out there. Totally exactly the guy who I think is going to be wandering around with his shotgun in the middle of the night, taking down these drug pushers.
Oh, yeah. You gotta.
So Soldier gets arrested because he just killed a lot of people.
And he just stayed there.
Yep.
And then we hard cut, the hardest cut I've ever seen, right up to the courthouse.
Oh, I love this scene because of this lawyer.
Shapiro.
I want to know everything about this lawyer. I wrote down 2 what I felt like were mean comments, but it's the best way to describe it. He's basically if Emo Phillips talked like Pee Wee Herman and played Woody Allen. As an albino.
That's amazing.
Well, that's it. That's exactly who this guy is. Somebody basically goes, what's every horrible, annoying Jewish stereotype that we could put in one person and also make sure that they are the pastiest person we have ever seen.
Yep. And he's just saying legal terms, like without any connection. He just says, well, that takes care of habeas corpus. I'm like, you don't actually know what that means, do you?
If anyone has seen or is a fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, there's the episode where Charlie decides to be a lawyer.
Charlie Hunnam Birdlaw.
And all Charlie's doing is he's just reciting things that he's seen on Law and Order. Doesn't understand what any of them mean, and that's basically what Shapiro is doing. And even before the trial starts, he calls for a mistrial. And the judge is like, this is day 500 that this happens to the judge. And the judge is literally just like, hey, I'm not going to deal with any of your crap today, Shapiro. And even when they're done with everything, he just stares at Shapiro and says, I want to see you in my chambers. And
we never see Shapiro again.
No,
assumingly the judge murdered him. That's my that's my headcanon for that.
I want to know everything about this guy. He's completely nuts, and he's just going over like all these ways that he can try to get Soldier off, and Soldier just sits there and goes, "I got news for you, Shapiro. I'm guilty."
And
you're like, what the fuck are you doing, Lorenzo Lamas?
He's about to enter his plea, and then Shapiro's like, no, not guilty by reason of temporary insanity. I was like, you can't. The lawyer can't make decisions for you. Like, if he really wanted to just be tossed into prison, that would be what would happen.
Well, not only that, but then the guy who's there for, I guess it's the state or the police department or city or whatever, goes, yeah, we'd also like a secondary psych evaluation. It's like, yes, because Soldier, all he needs is 2 psych evaluations. I'm pretty sure for this guy,
murder.
You're going to need like a dozen would be a good idea, because you could probably write a fucking book with the things that are going through this dude's mind. If you actually had people sit down and have a true conversation with Soldier, people would be like, yep, this dude's nuts. We need to lock him up right now.
And see, the thing about this is, so now Soldier's going to the insane asylum to prove whether he's sane or not. He's not. Yes. And this could have been a good idea, because like I think it'd be funny if like we pivot away from the drug plot and then we go Soldier like solving issues within the asylum itself, like a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest thing. But no, that's not what we're doing.
No. The thing that no one brings up in this entire movie, and is the easiest explanation for everything that's going on with him and the reason why he's acting crazy now. We do know that he's a vet. Of course, they go over that in the first movie, and the first movie does have the weird allegory with PTSD, but he never mentions his sister in this movie.
No.
He also never mentions the fact that his parents were brutally murdered. So for all we know, he's compartmentalized that entire event of his life, both the brutal murder of his parents, but then also everything that happens to him in the bayou.
What if this is a prequel?
No, I doubt it.
The continuity in the Snake Eater universe is very complicated. It's almost as complicated as X-Men, almost.
Almost. The third movie is actually going to deal with Snake Eater entering his body in the time of the first movie and deciding not to go save his sister.
That would be amazing.
A whole new timeline. He goes and saves someone else's sister instead.
I think we're basically just writing Snake Eater 4 at this point.
I'm fine with that. Concerning this continuity, we do have a returning guest star from the very end of the first Snake Eater movie. We once again have Ron Palillo show up as Torchy, but Torchy never once in the fucking movie ever notices or calls attention to the fact that he was arrested by Soldier.
And I don't think Soldier does either, right?
No, neither one of them bring up the fact.
And so Torchy's a firebug who this insane asylum keeps giving him things to start fires with.
There's a scene later in the movie where all he does is set Trivial Pursuit cards on fire.
Stop giving this man matches. Stop it.
He doesn't. We have Sydney is the first person who comes over and talks to Soldier when he's trying to become acclimated with the insane asylum. And Sydney mentions that he's read the file on Soldier somehow. But all this information that we just mentioned isn't mentioned by Sydney. Like, you have the opportunity for Sydney to mention, oh, I heard all these crazy things about you. What was that like? I can't believe you saved your sister. Mention Torchy. But they don't use that.
No, but we do get to learn some really interesting facts about Sydney.
Oh, who first comes over and goes, Mr. Kelly, may I call you Soldier? And I thought to myself, how dare you use his Christian surname? This is Soldier and nothing else to you, sir.
But what that means is the name Soldier is in his file.
It is. That's the only way he knows.
Is this his legal name?
No, it's probably in, alias, aka, however they have it on there. It has a special slot that says, what do you prefer to be called? Soldier.
But what is Sydney's profession?
Sydney's profession is I think that he is a compulsive liar and crazy person.
He's a simple computer professor, but also a compulsive gambler.
And he goes, so that's what got you in here? And then Sydney goes, but before I left, I installed a computer virus.
How many millions of dollars worth of research? $11 million worth of research destroyed?
No, it was $3 million.
Oh, well.
11 million.
That would have been way more impressive.
But I mean, that doesn't make him crazy.
No.
Which is why the way he reacts afterwards when he has to kind of look around like something's trying to get his attention or somebody's talking to him is what made me think that he's just like a crazy compulsive liar and he did something far worse that we never find out about.
I guess so, because like you could argue. And
we don't need to get into anything else. We can move to your favorite person, Sonny.
Wait, what?
The Reverend.
Billy Ray. His name's Billy Ray.
Yeah. They also call him Sonny.
Yeah. You mean the minister with a sex scandal and a weird obsession for
Evangelist.
boobs?
Evangelist.
This movie is just cutting social commentary, right? So we're talking about evangelical Christians and how they're apparently obsessed with boobs. Because every time Billy Ray starts giving a prayer, it devolves into him. He starts talking about sex every time.
Yep. Well, they do mention that he was the perverted televangelist who embezzled a whole bunch of money and then got caught up in the sex scandal.
Again, not crazy.
No.
But it does give new meaning to the term lay on hands, right?
Yes, because he wears a shirt later on that says evangelists don't just lay people.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. But they make sure to show it in that scene like 4 or 5 different times.
Yeah.
But of course, since Soldier's here, he has to get to the psych eval. And I was disappointed because the first thing I wrote when he was talking to the psychiatrist is, I'm like, he's going to fuck this psychiatrist.
Yes, I was convinced that was happening.
Spoiler, he does not fuck the psychiatrist.
No. It's the most disappointing part of this movie.
Exactly. I was rather disappointed. I was just like, oh, you have the obvious setup right there for this type of movie that you're making. Instead, they get into a serious conversation where she's asking Soldier why he did this, why he went out after these drug pushers and everything. And Soldier has the best reply, which is, let me ask you a question. You doctors, when you find a cancer, don't you want to cut it out? To which the psychiatrist, without missing a beat, goes, well, yes, absolutely, we do, but within the ethical confines of the law. And I'm like, okay, you're a fucking psychiatrist.
Yeah, to which her response should have been, actually, I'm not a surgeon. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the correct natural response. But nobody in this movie is sane whatsoever. Directly after they're having this conversation, randomly the door busts open and another inmate pops in and takes her hostage. And her response to him walking in and holding a knife to her throat is, calm down, Trevor.
She's so casual about this. This is the worst mental institution ever. Guy named Torchy, you give him matches.
Yep.
Crazy dude Trevor, let him get a hold on a knife, and like there's orderlies behind him, and none of them stop him from actually doing this.
They let soldiers stand up and have like the worst hostage negotiation speech ever, and is able to casually disarm the guy. And then the doctor turns and says, Trevor, if you keep this up, I'm not going to help you get better. Oh.
This is so, like, it's so great. Like, so this movie, I think this movie wants to be a comedy, and
well, it's okay. We were talking about this before, and like in the next several scenes, it just starts to go off the rails. We get an annoying little scene of banter between Soldier's ex partner and he's just talking about everything that's going on with the drugs and the problems that that Soldier caused, and the fact that, you know, just hitting the low level places in the ghetto didn't really do anything because they just put more enforcers in there. And I think he mentions that they think that it might be this mob outfit, but we're never ever really sure. But it's a quick little scene, and then the movie just gets crazy because they tell Soldier that they're able to get in and out of the mental institution, but to be able to find out how they do so, he has to play a game. They keep on mentioning a game, and they tell him that it's a race with wheelchairs, but they end up taking him to the roof of the building where every single other patient that's in the mental institution is on the roof, where it looks like it's raining. Half of them are in winter coats or carrying blankets around them. The reason that they've been brought up here for the game is that 2 contestants sit in wheelchairs with one leg propped up with a special boot on the end to basically play wheelchair jousting.
Yeah.
And the first person who's thrown over the railing, which is the side of the building, loses.
So how many people have died this way? This is the worst mental institution ever. Where are the orderlies? How come nobody notices anyone's gone?
Soldier is, well, there's the one orderly who lets everybody out because he's the one who unlocks Soldier's door and says, "Hey, it's time to play the game." And it's like, no, this is not a good idea. And he goes up against a guy whose name is Goliath and has some of the worst like facial prosthetics I've ever seen in a movie.
It looks like they tried to like take Charles Manson and make him a Neanderthal.
Yes. It's not good. It's not good.
No, it's not.
They, of course, you know, Soldier's going to win because he's Soldier, but the way they shoot it is just so boring and tedious.
It's the most flat action sequence I've ever seen.
Goliath ends up getting thrown off the side of the building, and he's holding on to the flagpole that's there on the end, to which one of the inmates casually runs up with a crutch and starts proceeding to try to beat Goliath's hands so that he will let go and drop to his death. I don't know why this is a thing.
But Soldier saves him because Soldier's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He might be completely insane, but he's a good guy. And they let Soldier know, hey, so the way you get out of here is we have somebody from the other side of the building or from the outside, we don't really say, come in and sleep in your bed because we find somebody who looks roughly like you, and then you crawl through this air duct outside. And the air duct, when you see him crawling through it, is giant. And first, he passes by a hooker who's coming by to visit the evangelist. And then he crawls a little bit further, and he runs into a Domino's delivery guy.
If you order one more pizza, you get free toppings.
Or free anti-pasta.
This is the problem. This movie is funny when it's not trying to be,
yes.
But every time it tries to be, like this whole scene, it just falls so flat.
Yeah, I was trying to find out. I go, does it want to be a farce, a spoof, or does it not understand what comedy is?
I think number 3, clearly.
Thankfully, the movie understood how I was feeling, and at minute 35 decided, you know what's going to make you feel better? We're going to crank in that sweet theme music that we haven't had.
Oh, I was so excited, but it never fully cranks in. Like it just teases us with it.
But it was still great. I'm just like, oh, you brought that back. That's nice. That's a snake eater I know. That's a snake eater I love. That's fantastic. And then in the weird snake eater is also a quasi-completely psychotic MacGyver, he ends up setting up a contraption that is built to basically kill one person in the most complicated way possible.
It's so weird because like he sees the guy's car park and then he
Yes.
walks by the car and then we cut to him climbing down a fire escape and you're
Yes.
like, what did he do that for? And then it's only until the guy gets back in the car that this contraption swings down.
Swings a giant piece of rebar that impales him and kills him in his car.
Just shoot him. Just shoot the guy.
Sure enough, Speedboat shows up and he's like, hey, I'm glad that we had the same idea yet again. Maybe we should work together in the future. They go over, take a look at the body. Don't take anything off the body. Look for clues or anything. And Speedboat goes, hey, come with me. I want to show you something. Shows him the car that he's stolen recently and then drives him basically back to the mental institution and says, hey, I want to do this right. We're going to get these guys. We need to move up the chain. To which the soldier tells him, hey, man, if you want to be in on things, that's fine, but you got to let me do my thing. I've got a plan. I don't need anybody. And I'm like,
he does not
what
have a plan.
He does not
have a plan.
At no point have we seen you making any type of plan whatsoever. You just spent an entire night to kill one guy who wasn't even peddling drugs that evening.
Yeah, and it's so funny because it's like you can almost see them in a room talking about this. That's like, well, this is a snake eater movie. Soldiers got to make traps. And like, but the reason he made traps in the last movie is because he was like trapped in the middle of the jungle, the bayou. Sorry, fighting
crazy.
people. Yeah, so like, it doesn't make sense. Just shoot the guy in the face.
Yeah,
but we're gonna keep doing this because the entire second
half of them.
Yeah, the entire second half of the movie is just Soldier escaping from the insane asylum again and again and killing people.
Yeah. I mean, he steps it up a notch in the next one because of the fact that Speedboat let him know, hey, this is who I believe is doing this from a source that I have. So this is the person that we need to get. We need to take care of him. And we continually cut back. Basically, after each place he goes and every problem that he causes, we end up seeing his former partner with the former partner's new partner at each crime scene. The first one is the weirdest, though, because they've got that guy who's died, and the new partner makes a comment, oh, do you think it's this mob family? To which the ex-partner says, nah, they don't have that much of a sense of humor.
Is this funny? I laughed, but
I don't understand what the joke in reference is.
I don't know.
And then we meet Sal, the mob boss, who, once again, this movie only deals in extreme stereotypes because he basically says a whole bunch of Italian things while cussing and making motions in the air. But he feels like he belongs in like a Zucker film.
Yeah.
But he's so insanely broad, just way over the top, and he doesn't match the most of the other scenes, even though it's like every alternating scene has a different broad or smaller feel to it.
Well, he doesn't do anything in this movie. Like, he's not necessary for it at all.
No. And so Speedboat decides that they need to go hit one of Sal's warehouses. The great thing is earlier in the movie when Speedboat was wearing that trench coat, I put a note that says, does Speedboat not understand what the word inconspicuous means? And sure enough, when Soldier tells him, hey, I need you to get a couple fire extinguishers, a plumbing van, and this, and do it on the down low. And he gets instead a very, very garish van, and Snake Eater Soldier himself even says, do you not know what the word incognito or inconspicuous means? And I was like, no, I'm not going to give you that movie.
So, but they've got their plumber van and they've got their fire extinguishers.
Yes.
And they're posing as people that are coming there to change out the fire extinguishers.
Well, they've got a plumbing van.
Is that a thing that plumbers do? Do
I don't know.
plumbers do fire
confused.
extinguishers? I don't think so.
No, because the fire extinguisher is going to be done by the local fire department or an independent contracted company who works for the government, who comes in to check all of them. So,
but
I mean, maybe it was different in 1989.
Maybe, yeah. But the fire extinguishers are not filled with fire extinguishing liquid. They're filled with gasoline, I guess.
Anything that's flammable, because we get my favorite moment of the movie where this warehouse that has a whole bunch of drugs has the fire erupt into it and has a guy literally yell, "Oh shit, the coke's burning. Move it."
And it's just in like little, like big round cylinders.
Vats.
Like it's
giant cauldrons.
It's like I've never seen drugs packed in that kind of way in any drug movie ever.
They're making it in a couple giant cauldrons, and they're moving it off to the side, and there's a guy who's flailing around who's on fire, and when he makes it into like the main entryway of the warehouse, somebody goes, "I've got you, Vic, stop moving," while they're hitting them. And I'm like, why are we creating a character out of this guy right now?
But my favorite part is they grab the fire extinguisher that Soldier has just replaced to try to put the fire out. Of course, it's filled with gasoline, so they just light everyone on fire. Oh, it's so great.
Oh. And then we cut back to Sal, who's having a phone conversation in which he mentions that it's $11 million worth of inventory that went up in flames.
It was like a little tiny pallet with a couple cylinders on it. But okay.
And to which he's on the phone and he goes, $11 million of inventory. No, you jerk.
God, I love this movie.
The best way to describe this guy, he's got that, like I said, he does have that, like Italian stereotype, but he feels like a Dan Aykroyd SNL character.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Like early years, it feels very much like the type of character, for the best example, the guy who works for the toy company that makes the insanely dangerous toys.
Oh yeah. That took me a second. Yeah. That works.
That's exactly who Sal is.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
And we also come to find out at this point in the movie that Sal has a regular daily 4:00 prostitute fuck session.
Of course, you gotta. But who is the prostitute this time?
The prostitute's the person that it's been the whole time, because they wanted to be smart and be like, hey, remember that prostitute you saw at the very beginning of the movie that you've seen several different times throughout the film, who Speedboat is now talking to and says that he doesn't want to be part of the game? Well, he informs Snake Eater about 30 minutes from now that, hey, that hooker's my sister. Like we see Speedboat talking to her just like 2 times, and he could have easily called her, his sister, but they play it as a reveal in the movie. Like that's supposed to do something to us. Like we're supposed to feel about this character, but we don't.
You didn't? I felt confusion.
The movie alternates. It goes between the drug busting scenes and then scenes that are in the mental institution, and neither one's really moving anywhere at all. We get a scene in the mental institution where he's supposed to be having one of his psych evaluations, and the doctor, like the dialogue they gave her is just crap, because she's got the Rorschach test, which she calls something else, and then Soldier calls it ink blot, but he holds it up and she goes, "Do you see, I don't know, anything sexual?"
And he says, "Yeah, a pretty lady holding an ink blot."
She's like, okay, so we know exactly what type of note we should take in this situation. But she doesn't.
Yeah, that's when they should have sex, but they don't. And like the thing that's confusing me about all this is like, at some point it becomes very clear that she's not just evaluating him. She's like actively trying to get him out of prison, like to avoid prison for him. Like she's in on it now, but it doesn't explain why. And the answer is because she's just a terrible psychiatrist.
She's bad. Everything's bad in this movie, because you're trying to figure out why any scene is happening. We do have a part where we learned early in the movie that this guy can get everybody anything, because of course if you've got a mental institution or prison in a movie, you always have that type of character. So Soldier's going over a list of items that he needs to get to basically make a series of bombs that he can use later in the movie. And then we have probably the most painful, drawn-out scene of the movie in which Speedboat and Soldier end up dressing up so that they can perform a fake food inspection.
But they're wearing, like, chauffeur hats to this food inspection.
It looks like old French police uniforms.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it does. It does. And
like
it's so weird.
That's how the hats feel.
It's so weird because, like, they go into this restaurant. So this is a restaurant where, like, I think the main drug, Sal's second in command is going to be.
Yeah, think of the place in Godfather 2.
That's definitely what they're going for.
Yeah.
And so they go there, and they pose as these health inspectors, and the guy's like, "You were just here last week." Which means that they're dressed correctly, because if he's just seen health inspectors, he knows what they look like. But they're wearing ridiculous uniforms, and they're
doing everything poorly. I mean, first of all, this guy's place should be closed down because he does the finger inspection, and they're
covered in dirt. It's so much
shit
dirt.
and oil, and you're just like,
it's so much.
Well, you definitely deserve. And sure enough, the guy definitely had them the past week, because he pulls out like $200 to give him right away. It's like, oh, here you go. This is what we did last time.
Yeah, and then Speedboat's like, don't tell the other guy, because he wants to keep the money.
It keeps on going on. The only part of it I liked is when Speedboat does the, well, it smells like shit.
So they put.
And he does it with that inflection too, and I'm like, are you just trying to have this be a catchphrase? Because they continually throughout the movie has him say, "Does shit stink?"
Yeah, that's like anytime someone asks him anything, it's "does shit stink?" But the weird thing is, there's one time that they don't do that. He doesn't say that.
No.
Someone asked. I think this is jumping back a little bit, but the Coke lab that they go to. Mm-hmm. Soldier says, "Are you sure this is the Coke lab?" And Speedboat replies, "Does Little Red Riding Hood like to get eaten?" No, that the answer to that question is no. So are you saying that that's not where the Coke lab is?
Yeah. But by the way, who's running the rec center at this time?
What about the dance competition? It's in like 6 days.
What has it been 6 days? Has it been 11? Is he done with his community service? Because I'm pretty sure the shit he's doing right now with a police officer who's still suspended and in a mental institution doesn't make it okay. I'm pretty sure things are worse now that he's spending this extra time.
They needed to have a scene at the end of one of the days where Speedboat comes in and says, "Hey man, will you sign my community service sheet?"
No, I'm in the mental institution. Go get my ex-partner. Or Speedboat goes home and he's got a calendar and he's got a pen attached to it, and he pulls off the cap and marks it off, and you see how many days are left that he's got.
Only 2 to go. Better kill these drug dealers before my probation runs out.
So, just the movie's just so weird because it feels like it's building up to nothing. You know that it's going to end up getting, they're going to end up having to go after Sal, but they just add so many scenes throughout the film that it just so much padding, and most of these scenes are basically excuses for them to have slightly more than a bit of casual racism. Like it's difficult to say just because it's so weird that this movie that tries to be so broad when it comes to humor leans into the racism angle a lot.
Yeah, it does. You're right. To an uncomfortable degree.
There's at least 3 to 4 N-words that are thrown out by white people. You've got, like I said, Sal very much is super, super Italian stereotypes. You've got Shapiro as the super, super Jewish lawyer. And just there's this undercurrent of super racism running through the movie that flies in the face of everything else.
I will say it's mostly the bad.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying Shapiro's not necessarily a bad guy.
I mean, he's a smarmy lawyer.
Yeah, but still, he's a character that you have for that scene. And the way that they have him be a smarmy lawyer is by overplaying the Jewish aspect to it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think Sydney's kind of, like, transparently Jewish as well. Like, they're not hiding this stuff a lot. They're playing in stereotypes a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a difference between just playing in stereotypes and painfully pointing this stuff out and having it linger, and then by throwing in things like the N-word. I mean, like we said, this is 89, so it's not when people are super ignorant back in the day. Like, you know what you're doing if you're choosing these words, and it doesn't really work or mesh well with that broad tone that they want to go for.
Yeah, I mean, they don't know what they're trying to do, and I think that's the biggest problem.
No, but we do know what Soldier and Speedboat are going to do, which is they're going to make the big push on Sal's. We still don't know why everybody thinks that it's Sal. We have the ex-partner mentions that they think he might be involved, and that's just because some of the deaths that are going on. But the deaths are being enforced by things that Speedboat has said that he's gotten from his source, which the source is the sister who is being plowed by Sal, who also has the conversation where Speedboat wants her to get out, and she's actually proud that she's made it to the top tier, and she doesn't want to leave the life of being a hooker because she wants to stay with Sal.
I love all these characters; they're so good.
But that's where our main piece of information for everything. So
yeah,
while we do know that Sal is in the drug business, we have absolutely no indication that Sal is the person who sold the shitty drugs to begin with, because of the fact that he makes a big deal about the $11 million worth of inventory, and he does have all the people in their special super outfits making it. It doesn't look like an operation that's cutting in rat poison.
But it is, Adrian, as we will learn soon.
I'm gonna let you take this part.
Well, so Speedboat gets captured, right? Yes. He gets captured because
he's just casually walking down the street. First of all,
yeah, but they so the restaurant gets blown up. They put a bomb in the bathroom, and it blows up, and it kills the second in command. And Sal's like, "Find me those two health inspectors." I was like, "Wait, how'd you know it was them?" So I guess they're able to track down Speedboat as one of the health inspectors somehow, and they capture him. And then our boy Soldier goes for him, and this is our climax. Is now in this giant drug house.
Yes.
I say climax. It's not very interesting.
No, it's not. Sal has gathered up several other bigger heads of the mob bosses in town because he doesn't like the specific group or a specific other family, basically. And so he wants to get everybody on his side in case they decide to go to a turf war. Soldier is not subtle, even though he was part of a secret commando search and destroy team who were supposed to do stealth.
He kind of seems like he's going to do stealth at first, but then he just strolls right into the house and is immediately spotted. Fired at, and instead of trying to take them out to, cover up the gunfire, he decides to lob a couple bombs at them. And everybody hears this in the main conference room, and Sal's like, "Oh, don't worry, I've got this locked down. We can turn this into a panic room." And after he does it, he says, "The guy who just rebuilt the safe at Fort Knox is my decorator." But this panic room will come back to haunt them when I can't even say it. I can't even say it.
When Soldier and Speedboat come across the room that has cocaine, so they decide to dump the cocaine in the air vent so that it will make its way into the room where they are as a smoke or vapor, killing everybody inside the room.
And they can't get out because he's put his gun just in the door.
he's put an Uzi just casual, ever so slightly in the door, and there's no way for them to get out. That's what holds the lock in place.
So they all die.
I'm covering my face while I'm describing this because when we say it, it sounds like maybe it might be exciting, but as Soldier is walking down the hall, he can barely lift his gun all the way up to shoot people. Like Lorenzo Lamas, of all people, is bored to be involved with this film.
Yeah, and I want to once again compare this to the first Snake Eater, whose conclusion involves a big. Is it a construction vehicle driving into a cabin?
It's a giant tractor.
There you go. Yeah, it's a giant tractor driving into a cabin and running it over, and then everyone dying. Like, you compare that with this, and it's just like stupid.
Yes, it's terrible.
But they're all dead. Hooray! Our good guy wins.
I guess he wins. He's back at the mental institution, and it turns out that he's been found not guilty by reason of insanity. He's going to have to stay in the mental institution
indefinitely.
He is thrilled by this. Not only is he thrilled by this, the psychiatrist is thrilled by this process.
And this is, again, are they going to bang now? No. They don't even kiss or anything. This is so disappointing.
Hey, that's because they're more pressing matters. Like, who happens to be the newest member of this mental institution?
It's Speedboat. He's joined the party.
Why?
Because he's crazy.
They don't even explain it, because his sister casually comes in to visit him like a moment later and has one of my favorite parts of the movie, because she comes in. Soldier's ex-partner is just like, oh yeah, everything got taken care of. Your sister's not, going to be involved with anything. We're going to take care of her. And then the sister leans in and says, my name's now blah, 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 and I'm going to be living in Glendale, Arizona. I'm now in the blah, blah. She's in the witness fucking protection program, and she's casually mentioning to her brother her new identity and where she lives.
No one told her what the witness protection program actually was.
No, absolutely.
See, if this movie was at all smarter, I would say it's a very sharp critique on the criminal justice system, that all these criminals keep just getting thrown in an insane asylum instead of prison. No. But the movie's not that smart.
No, the movie's full of absolutely crazy people.
But that's where we leave it. That's where we leave. The movie ends with Soldier just indefinitely in the crazy house with his buddy, with his new buddy Speedboat.
That's it.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not as big of a deal since they have the easiest way to break out of this place possible.
But they don't, because right before they make the big push on Sal's place, Soldier tries to get out, but is captured because they found out that that's how everybody's been getting out. He gets thrown into a padded cell for all of 2 minutes before Goliath comes to escort him out of the building, because Goliath is able to put every single person in the mental hospital in a chokehold.
Yes, but I still think they're going to be able to use that vent. That just doesn't seem like the guards here are gonna.
Why not? I'm going to say fuck it on the how would you make this better, because it's Snake Eater. They feel like they're trying. They feel like they think this is the greatest thing in the world with the comedic bits that they put in there. They're convinced that this is great. They're completely wrong in every step, in every decision that they make in the film. But it's endearing in how idiotic and stupid
I kind of love these movies. I mean, what?
That's what I was going to jump into, and I was going to say, instead of focusing on how would you make this better, because they honestly believe that they're making something good, and it's just not working. So I was going to ask you, what is your ray of sunshine for this, or do you have more than one?
So my favorite part of this movie is, unshockingly, an interaction between Soldier and Speedboat. There is a moment.
I hope this is one to think about.
There's a moment when Soldier is in his room doing sit-ups,
Yes, thank you. The squats, the fucking squats. Oh my god, that was one of my moments. But continue.
Yeah, so Soldier's just in his room doing sit-ups. Speedboat comes in to give him more information so they can go take down one of the 3 drug people they take down during the course of the movie. Yes. And while Speedboat is relaying this information to Soldier in a full suit, he's wearing a suit, jacket, tie, the whole thing.
Why? Oh, we forgot to mention that the entire reason why he wears a full suit when he comes in to see Soldier is because he stole Shapiro's wallet and is using Shapiro's card as a way to pretend that he is a lawyer to come in and see Soldier, even though every single other person just casually strolls in.
Yeah, like that matters. Yeah. But yeah, so he's relaying the information to him, and as Soldier's doing sit-ups, he just starts doing squats, and he continues to do squats through this entire scene. The scene ends with him like walking around the room squatting, and like
he's counting it off,
and he's counting it. Yeah, he's like, okay, breathe. 1, 2. It's so great.
But you don't know. I mean, it's weird enough that it starts with Lorenzo Lamas doing his weird crunches, and then it just like Speedboat just kind of looks at him and he's like, "Okay, let's do this. All right, this is a good place." And you're just like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Oh, I loved it so much.
Never happens at any other point. Like it's not connected to anything.
That was my favorite moment. I loved it so much.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that because it was great. I'm so glad. It's so weird. I'm definitely going to see if there's a way that I can make a little video clip of that, and we'll link to it if I'm able to, because it's just, you have to watch it and you're just in there going, what is this? Even if you watch the entire movie, I still can't figure exactly out what it is. I had another one along with that, which is part of their little climax raid that they're making. When they're going through Sal's place, when Soldier comes to first get Speedboat, there's the guy who is torturing Speedboat who's also in the movie, or also in the room. Mm-hmm. And there's a short fight that's really shitty. And then Soldier knocks over the fish tank that's filled with water and grabs a lamp and holds it over his head and just stares at the guy and gives the guy enough time that he could easily run and leave the room. And the guy just kind of stands there like, oh, what's going to happen? What's it going to do with the light? I got to stay here and I got to find out what's going to happen. And then he fucking gets electrocuted.
Yeah, that was really good too.
Not to be outdone, my single favorite, it's tied with the lunges for the best moment in the entire movie, is they've got a guy who's got a gun in another room, what ends up being the coke room. And Soldier and Speedboat are trying to, not get hit by the guy. Soldier gives a bomb to Speedboat to throw in. The door's closed when we see it at 1 second, and then Speedboat jumps past it and throws it into the open doorway, which explodes and causes a guy's arm to catch on fire. The guy casually saunters out of the room because an explosion just went off in front of him and set part of him on fire. Speedboat jumps up and kicks the guy, yelling, "Get out of here!" which causes the guy to fall down the stairs to his death.
Yeah, but it's like such a pratfall. Like it's the most obvious pratfall ever.
Well, because Speedboat's such a small guy that you can tell that there's no force when he hits the guy, and so the guy has to fake fall forward and throw himself down the stairs.
Yeah,
It's a thing of beauty in a ridiculous film.
Hey, before we vote, I have some trivia I just found for you.
Okay. Let me ask you a simple question to see if it relates to your trivia. Does it happen to do with the therapist?
No, it does not. Now I'm interested to hear that.
All right. The therapist at this time and for a number of years later was Miss Lorenzo Lamas.
No way.
Yeah,
and they didn't bang in the movie?
She was in, I think, 7 or 8 movies with him.
I'm so mad now. Why didn't they?
I
Bang in the movie?
I probably because she was married to Lorenzo Lamas.
I'm not happy. Not happy.
Neither was she. That's why they got a divorce.
So my trivia is the guy who plays Goliath is a guy named Michael Scherer, who is a stuntman who has been a stuntman or coordinator in 106 movies. Including most recently X-Men Apocalypse, where he was a stunt coordinator for the Canada unit.
Yep.
So he's doing well.
Yeah. That's not too bad. I mean, he also did Days of Future Past as well. So,
Yeah.
He's
Day After Tomorrow, Source Code, Death Race, Riddick, Warm Bodies. Like, he's getting worked.
Well, I mean, he clearly was a stunt guy, I mean, not anybody's just going to wheel around in a wheelchair like that. That takes skill and finesse, Scott. I'm sorry.
Adrian, he was the stunt coordinator for The Adventures of Pluto Nash. How is this man not a household name?
Why would you mention that movie, Scott?
Because I just saw it here on IMDb, and it's hilarious.
There's plenty of things that we talk about on this show, but I thought we had an unspoken rule.
We had standards.
We would never bring up The Adventures of Pluto Nash.
Shit,
the good people of the world don't need to discuss that,
I'm so sorry, everyone. I didn't know. I forgot.
It's okay.
I'm embarrassed.
You should be. You're a regular Shapiro right now.
Oh, shit. All right, let's vote on this bad boy.
Okay, you go first. Start us off.
Oh, man. There's no snakes in this movie.
No,
at all.
This is 2 films, and how many snakes have we seen?
1 snake.
We've seen 1 snake. How many snakes have been eaten?
0 snakes.
0 snakes. False advertisement.
I'm so angry.
These 2 movies.
They need Snake Eater 3 better eat at least 40 snakes, or I'm going to be really mad.
That's a high standard that I am not going to hold Snake Eater 2 because Soldier doesn't really have that time on his hands.
I don't know, man. This is definitely worse than Snake Eater. In just about every conceivable way.
In a completely different manner altogether.
Yeah. But I don't know. There's just something about the series that I really enjoy. And I think they're fun to watch, as bad as they are. So I'm going to say not guilty.
I'm going to say not guilty as well, because they're so odd. They're so weird. There's so many questions I have about the decisions that are made in these movies. That they're special in that way. They're not necessarily so bad it's good. They're just baffling.
No, yeah, they are. And it's, I don't know, like, again, this movie, I think, was trying to be more funny than the first. Like, Snake Eater is not a comedy. Snake Eater 2 thinks it's a comedy.
Yes.
But the parts that aren't supposed to be comedy in this comedy film are hilarious.
Yeah.
And the parts that are trying to be funny just aren't.
Exactly.
But I'm really, like, I don't know about you. I really want to see what they're going to do with the third movie, because I can't imagine what you could do with this now.
I don't know. It's the plot of the third movie is a Vietnam vet named Soldier is hired to find a biker gang called Hell's Fury, which raped, drugged, and kidnapped a young girl and exact revenge.
See, I think that makes it seem like they're leaning into the exploitation genre a bit more. This like Snake Eater 2 was not an exploitation film at all.
No.
It was just a bad action movie. So if they're going to go back that direction, I am intrigued.
I mean, I'm very interested to see it. I'll say that. I'm interested to see which they go for. If they go for more of the first movie or if they go for more of the second movie. The interesting thing about the series is it's directed by the same guy.
Yeah, all 3 of them, right?
Yeah, all 3 of them directed by the exact same guy. So that's it shows a weird difference between the first movie and the second movie. And like the first movie was made in 1989, which this one technically was made in. Like the years are off on when they're made. Snake Eater, the first one was made in 87, came out in 89. Snake Eater 2 was made in 89, got released in 91. Snake Eater 3 was made in 90 and released in 92.
That's very confusing.
Yes. Especially when you think about like the style of film and the quality between the first and the second movie. Like the first one you can tell is very much shot on film. Probably got a theatrical release in a couple different places. Snake Eater 2 is the epitome of direct-to-video in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It has that style of, we only have a handful of locations. We only have a couple days to shoot. We have a very small budget. Half the people are not union. So
I'm reading the plot keywords for Snake Eater 3.
I'm worried.
They are hilarious. This is my new favorite thing to do on IMDb, by the way. If you ever read these, they're really funny. So, Snake Eater 3, plot keywords, kissing while having sex, sex on a first date,
okay,
bare breasts, wisecrack humor, cowboy hat, machine gun, Roman numeral in title. These are so great. Third part, impalement, based on novel, which we got to look that up. What's going on there?
It's based off a novel that's called Rafferty's Rules.
Are all these based off novels?
Duncan. I don't know about the second one, but I know the third one is. It might be one of those situations where it's like Die Hard 2, you know?
Yeah.
Die Hard 2 is based on a book, but the book has nothing to do with the Die Hard series. They just took the basic plot from that and transplanted it onto something where they could put John McClane in there. Probably a situation where somebody was like, oh, we can adapt this story to, work for Soldier. I can't believe I just said that, but that's probably the thought that somebody had at one point in time, is what we need to do is we need to make this work because we need to make another Soldier film. While there is not technically a fourth movie, there's an unofficial, spiritual sequel. I didn't know if you knew about that.
No, I didn't. What's that called?
Let me look it up. I just had it 2 seconds ago, so now you ruined it.
I'm sorry.
Well, but there was one that Hawk's Vengeance, I think is what it was called.
I mean, we've clearly got to do them all. We've got to cover the entire Snake Eater universe. I want a box set collection. They have the Alien
VHS tapes though.
The Alien anthology. I want the Snake Eater anthology.
I don't know if that's possible.
But these are fun movies. Snake Eater 2 is on YouTube for some reason. I don't think the owners of this movie are aggressively holding on to their copyright claims. So several people have posted this to YouTube.
Yeah, that's all we can really say.
So you can watch it there if you want, or do. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
No, I mean, if you have access to be able to find a cheap VHS of this movie and own it, it seems like a fun little collectible to watch with your friends.
Yeah, I agree.
It's ridiculous. The movie is completely ridiculous, but I had fun watching it. It's an easy watch. It's entertaining. It's really, really stupid. So that's why I'm fine not sending it off into the
and it's quick. I think that we've been pretty lenient on films this past few weeks, and I think it's because these movies get in, they do about 90 minutes, and they get the hell out of there. You got a bad movie that's going on for 2 hours, you're losing me.
Well, yeah, I think that it sounds mean to say, but the inherent stupidity of people who think they're doing something that far surpasses the actual work that they're doing is what helps these moves along. If you have that ability to convince yourself that what you're doing is absolutely right when what you're making is utter garbage, it helps the flow of the movie go by fast. At the same time, if you're somebody who's editor and you're watching all this footage and you're just like, well, fuck, this is just lasting too long. How can we find a way to shape this so that when it's over, people are like, well, at least it went by fast.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. So that's Snake Eater 2.
Yeah, there's that. We got that taken care of. We're good to go. Next week, I think we've settled in that we are going to do a movie that's got a kind of long title. It's called Robo Vampire 2 Devil's Dynamite.
And where can we find this movie, Adrian?
This movie is actually on Amazon Prime, of all places.
Oh, wow. Wow.
You will be able to find it by looking for cover art that has a cheap-looking RoboCop firing I think it's a shotgun in the direction of a Chinese vampire.
Wow. I can't wait for this. That episode will be out next Friday, which is the 23rd of June. So you have a week to watch what's it called? Damn it.
Robo Vampire 2 Devil's Dynamite.
There you go. Thank you. So watch that and then come back next week and listen to us talk about it.
That'll be fun. Scott, in the meantime, where can we find you on the internet?
I am on Twitter at ScottDaly85. That's DALY. And you can also find all my writing, all the other podcasts we do here, and more at dailyplanetfilms.com.
It's so interesting. So interesting. I learn something new every day.
That's the same thing I say every week.
Who said I was paying attention before now?
Well, that's just rude.
Oh, I apologize. I'm just wait for you to stop talking at this point so that I can let the people know where they can find me, because I know that's my cue, and I want to make sure that it seems like I'm doing my job, to some point. I can be found on the internet at Yo Adrian Torres on Twitter, and you can also find my writings at boomhowdy.com. Something very cool that happened this past weekend actually. I got admitted into the Kansas City Film Critics Circle, so legitimizes me a little. Thank you.
You are a legitimate critic now.
We'll say pseudo legitimizes.
No, you're in a club. So, you're in a circle, man.
I'm in a club, and I'm proud to say that we are actually the second longest running organized critics group in America, because the group is actually I don't know. My guess is something in either New York or LA. Those are the two most obvious ones. So it's got to be one of those. Otherwise, it's going to be like Bethesda, Maryland.
That would be great. That would be great.
That doesn't sound as exciting when you're like, hey, Kansas is second on the list, and someone's like, oh, actually, Tulsa has the number one. So I'd like to think that it was something bigger, but yeah, they started the Kansas City Film Critics Circle actually started in the 60s. So
that's awesome.
They've been around for a while, so it was cool. But yeah. Okay, you guys know what the new movie is. I think I mentioned this last week, but I'll mention it again now because there's still several days left in the month. There's a thing that's going on in conjunction with fthismovie.com, which is a great website. Definitely check that out. We have no affiliation. It's just a site that I really like. They have a thing going on right now that's called Junesploitation. And if you put the hashtag in front of that and search Twitter, you'll see a whole bunch of people talking about different movies. And that's because they have it set up. It's been a 30-day challenge, but even if you haven't started, you can jump in and still enjoy it. They have different movies that are set for different days. So if you go to fthismovie.com and you look for Junesploitation, they'll tell you what all the days are. Like today was a free space because they had a whole bunch. and they have like every 10 days or so you get a free space. The day before was Sybil Danning. A couple days before that was Kung Fu, blaxploitation, cops movies. They've got all sorts of different days, and it's lots of fun to see what movies people are watching to come up with ideas of films that you want to see in the future. So feel free to take part in that. It's fun to see so many people watching movies, and you're like, oh man, I haven't seen that movie in a long time, or that sounds like an insane movie. How can I find out about that? And I love being able to do that. I love being able to expand my film knowledge, whether it be seeing good movies, seeing movies like Snake Eater. Everything goes into building a film vocabulary for you.
Yes, and that's what Phantom Zone can help you do, is build your amazing film vocabulary of terrible, shitty, awful movies.
You can appreciate bad movies in a new way, and when you go to see a bad movie in the theater, you can quantify how bad it is. And I think that's the level that we have. There's too many people who just say, I hated this movie to too many films. And if you're not able to have a good reason why, then you kind of sound silly. It's easy to say, I don't like this movie. It's better to be able to say, I don't like this movie because. It's even better to say, I didn't like this movie, but it's still not as bad as Senorita Justice.
And I think that's a perfect way to end this episode.
Yes. Until next time, everybody, you take care.
Soldier, where's your sister?